friends, you might have heard the phrase by G. Michael Hopf, that hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. I'm afraid we're at a point in the cycle where the weakness of our society is shifting our world back into an era of unprecedented hardship. You see, human civilization had its birth in a time of incredible hardship and austerity. And a life of difficulty, conflict, and violence has always been the norm for the vast majority of human history up until recently. Journeys took days and days on foot, exposed to the elements, the animals, raiders, and barbarians. The very existence of your people group was constantly balanced on the edge of a sword if you lived in the ancient world. A world where perpetual conflict and the threat of conquest was a daily threat. Battlefield wounds and common illnesses were treated in a very primitive and barbaric way in comparison to modern medicine. They were treated with pain, cruelty, and without the aid of modern anesthesia. You see, for most of human history, life began where a woman gave birth in a cave or an ancient structure, without epidurals, electricity, running water, or any of the comforts that we have today. You see, just to stay warm in the winter, you had to cut hundreds of pounds of wood by hand to keep a constant fire going in your home. And to stay cool in the summertime, you simply slept on your roof. And to eat, you hunted, you gathered, or you harvested. To drink, you simply had to carry water, heavy water, for miles and miles and miles back to your village. And it is in this time of extreme hardship and difficulty that made extremely resilient and determined men who, under constant pressure to survive, built and invented all of the achievements and forward innovations that forged the civilization we have today. However, I'm afraid that these good times that were created by strong men are coming to an end. If we look in our modern society for the same strength that our ancient ancestors had, we will see that if we are weighed and tried, we will be found wanting. You see, the last 100 years of relative comfort and good times has made the average man in our society of today weak, with an aversion to pain and hardship. For example, I work in an emergency department, and you constantly see people coming in crying and dramatic about minor discomforts. People are asking for their skin to be numbed up just to receive an IV. People complain that the blood pressure cuff that is put on their arm to simply get a baseline set of vitals is too tight. It causes too much pain for them. People come back to the ER constantly if they visited before and the problem that they received treatment for, i.e. a strep throat or a headache that they were given medication for, if it's not solved immediately, if the medicines don't work immediately within 24 hours, people constantly return to the ER because they want comfort. They want immediate cessation of pain. They want immediate solution to their hardship. If you look at our society, obesity is very, very common due to it being too hard to work out. You see, in our ancestors' times, food was scarce. It was hard to get, and just to live, you had to be active. You had to push yourself physically, but in today's society, food is abundant. Good times are abundant. And comfort is the norm. As a matter of fact, even getting up to walk somewhere is considered discomfort. To get up to walk into the grocery store, to buy food that you don't have to kill or harvest, is a discomfort, and people rather park as close as they possibly can to the store. And so obesity in our culture is more common than not. Unfortunately, 75% of men within the United States are overweight or obese. And companies are making billions of dollars on easy weight loss drugs like Mounjaro and Wegovy. They're essentially injections that cause your metabolism to increase and suppress your appetite so that you can lose weight without having to actually change your diet or having to actually exercise. It's the easy way out, and these companies are making billions, feeding off of people's laziness and aversion to pain and hardship. You see, even very minor discomforts nowadays are considered unacceptable by the majority of society. For example, how many times have you heard people complain about a perfectly functional older car that they have that does not have all the amenities like heated seats or Bluetooth radio, or maybe the air conditioning doesn't work and you have to roll down the windows to keep cool, But you will hear these people complain about these cars and go into debt just to get a newer car that makes life more comfortable. People will be outraged even about not having cable TV in their house and not knowing what to do to stay entertained. If the power goes out, you will see people panic and not know what to do. You will see people spend money that they may not even have to go to a hotel where there's electricity just so that they can be more comfortable. When the majority of our ancestors that walked this earth prior to the last 100 years did not have electricity. As a matter of fact, that was just a normal part of their life. You see, right before the fall of the Roman Empire, there was a period of unprecedented peace and easy times called the Pax Romana. And during this time, there was very little war and conflict within the Roman Empire. The military became out of training because they didn't have to fight. Times were easy. People were enjoying a time of relative abundance. People did not have to get used to enduring hardship, and people, quite frankly, did not know how to handle hardship because times were so good. The populace was not ready for conflict. The populace was not ready to fight for their very existence like they have before in the other eras of the Roman Empire. However, once hard times returned to the Roman Empire, the people were unequipped to deal with them. The barbarian bands of the Visigoths and the Franks and the Picts and the Gauls, who were used to constant conflict and hardship, they came into the Roman territory. And they decimated Roman garrisons and sacked Roman villages because these people were not used to conflict. They were not prepared for hardship. They were not prepared to fight for their existence. Struggles that were very common to these barbarian tribes. And I am afraid right now that we are entering into our own Pax Romana. That the Western world is in its time of unprecedented peace and good times. That quite frankly will make us weak. That quite frankly has not made us prepared for the upcoming hardship that we will soon face. You see, we live in a time where governments are changing power, where economies are crashing, where nations are rising up against nations, just like we have seen in prophecy. We are coming into a time of unprecedented hardship, where the weak will fade away, where our future will literally rest on the backs of the men who are strong, of the men who are willing to be leaders in this dark world, of the men who are willing to rise up and be our modern day warriors and conquerors. You see, we need a generation of strong men that can save our civilization from a future of darkness. We need a generation of strong men who are willing to embrace pain, embrace suffering, and use it as a learning lesson to make themselves better. Because right now, our society is weak. Right now, for the majority of people in our society, their ancestors are looking down from heaven and they are saying, we did not die. We did not go through the dark ages, the Black Plague, smallpox, westward expansion, wars, conquest, the Spanish Inquisition, slavery. We did not go through these hardships just so that you could be weak, just so that you could let us down. And I say this, if you are one of the people who has fallen into weakness because of the good times, you are failing your ancestors. This is not what they went through hardship to endure. This is not why the great men of the past fought and innovated, so that their civilizations can survive by their advancements and innovations to make society more stable and safe. They did not create these societies so that you could be weak, so that you could let them down, so that you could put the poison of weakness in their latter generations. This is not why they made their sacrifices. So if this is you that I'm talking about, who has become comfortable, who has become weak in today's society, I need you to change. The world, civilization needs you to change. We need a generation of hard, strong, durable men that will lead us through the coming darkness. And here's how you become one of those men. You seek hardship. You embrace it as opportunities to become better. Refuse at any point in your life to be in a place of total comfort and stagnation. Because every bit of hardship in your life should be seen as an experience that is forming resilience in you. When experiences suck, when they're hard, when they're difficult, when they take an extreme amount of effort and resilience and elicit an uncomfortable amount of pain, you should embrace this suck as the process that is slowly forging you into a superior of your peers. You should find rejoicing in every hardship and challenge, because it can make you into that strong man that we desperately need to save the world. It can make you into that strong man that will guide us through the future. That strong man that is forged by hard times, that will take those hard times that we will face in the future and change them back into good ones. That strong man that will lead us through the darkness of weakness that we see in the majority of our peers. That strong man that will lead us through the weakening of the Pax Romana and put us back into our time of strength. You see, every time of conquest and empire building, every time of great advancement in human civilization has always been formed out of a time of great desperation, out of a time of great hardship. Every advancement in human civilization has come from a time of desperation, from a time of need, because hard times made strong men. And these strong men, in turn, made good times. These good times, unfortunately, have made a time of weak men. But now, we need a time of strong men to arise up, to save us, to save the world from the oncoming hard times. So with that being said, this is your mission. This is your calling to every man watching. Go forth and conquer, my friends. The world is yours.